What I'm implying when I use the term psychopathic is behavior that's related to psychopaths, what mental health professionals label as antisocial. And a psychopathic disorder is considered a chronic disorder with abnormal or violent social behavior. So to amplify the clarity on what it actually means, these are the terms that come to mind: cold, callous, calculating, without empathy, and no remorse. And keep in mind that psychopathy is based on a spectrum, so there's all sorts of different tones and shades of this disorder, of these behaviors. Some exhibit more, some less, and you can imagine that this would vary depending on numerous factors, and we can spend an eternity discussing the possible details of why, and we can get caught up in speculation. But that is not the intention of this video. I just want to offer you more insights so you can start connecting the dots, and I'm sure many of you already have. Terms that come to mind when I think of the word psychopathic include superficial charm, glib, pathological lying, parasitic lifestyle, promiscuous sexual behavior, an obsessive need for stimulation, being prone to boredom, shallow, empty, void, grandiose, socially irresponsible, disregarding and violating the rights of others, a seeming inability to distinguish right from wrong, amoral, manipulative, recurring problems with authority, convinced of their own superiority, a motivation to intentionally hurt and harm others, a disgust toward the vulnerable, chameleon-like and very convincing at blending in with society, whilst covertly insinuating conflict, prone to rage, emotional and physical violence, creating the appearance of being trustworthy and normal, a disregard for the sanctity of life, being impulsive and aggressive, displays of extreme egocentricity, failure to learn from experience or punishment, inability to establish meaningful relationships, disassociates from actions that are harmful to others, disassociated from feelings of sincerity or vulnerability, will stop at nothing to enforce their own agenda, fueled by resentment, rage and envy, have a low tolerance for frustration and their goals being thwarted, will resort to violent crimes, involved in transactional relationships, emotionally and spiritually vacated. And there's been a lot of discussion online between psychopaths, narcissists, sociopaths, as we try and understand this particular infliction. The conclusions that I've made for myself are this: that psychopaths are born and sociopaths are made. And put in another way, psychopaths are said to have no soul, whereas sociopaths and pathological narcissists have sold their soul. There are many differing perspectives, and they all offer interesting insights into this condition that society has been so subtly infected by, like catching fleas. The systems reward selfish, self-centered behaviors. The hierarchical structures and their propagated belief in lack promotes competition and mistrust of others. And we can see it everywhere from our own personal experiences, in our workplaces, media, medical, and the injustice systems, governments. It's infiltrated this society, if not subtly and covertly via manipulation, then enforced via mandatory laws and regulations that serve this psychopathic agenda. So it's basically either a manipulation of your free will to make you believe what they're doing for you is for your benefit. But if you start thinking and acting independently, start asking questions, it'll trigger their outrage and they'll enforce their rules over you, thus taking away your freedoms and your human rights and your free will. And one of the most effective measures is to continuously keep you distracted so you don't even know what your human rights are. And let me get really clear about this. Slaves don't have rights. They only wait to receive and fight for dispensed privileges. And the most apparent way that you can recognize a psychopathic society, and one that's mostly unaware that it's influenced by this affliction, is the illusion of freedom, the illusion of choice, and the illusion of free speech. What becomes very evident is the attack on anyone or any group that begins to ask questions, Just like in cults, just like in narcissistic families, the person pointing out the problem becomes the problem. The greatest deception within a psychopathic society is that you are free, when the truth is you're enslaved. We are psychologically conditioned to defend the system that enslaves us. Members in a psychopathic society are groomed. They're spoon-fed sweet-sounding lies, all the while herded by the use of propagated fear and panic, and strategically, repetitively, and consistently manufactured crises. It begs the question, who would have a vested interest in humanity being infiltrated by such inhumane behaviour? It's becoming more evident every day that humanity is ready to connect the dots because we are tired of being in the dark, being exploited. We are ready and willing to now recognise how the game has been structured and learn how to transcend this affliction. We have been spiritually and emotionally manipulated to believe that we can help these people, but they follow the orders of this deeper influence. They've deceived many with their roles that they play in our life. Mummy, daddy, prime minister, when really their most definitive role was always that of Jekyll and Hyde. Despite this perception of chaos, this is actually the greatest time in human history. And it's where I invite you to remember your humanity, to remind you that our choice to choose love over fear is exactly what will contribute to healing and transcending this affliction. I'm by no means a religious person, but I want to offer you these words that just keep repeating in my mind, and I keep feeling the wisdom of in my heart, and you yourself may recognize them. And they are, forgive them because they don't know what they're doing. These are just my subjective interpretations that I'm offering to you because I don't believe that the solution to all of this can be found from the same level of consciousness as the problem. Remember that knowledge is power, and it's time to share what we know, to unite and support each other. If what I've shared feels in alignment with you and your personal views and your personal experiences, please feel free to connect with me via Facebook, and I also do Skype for more personal one-on-one mentoring. If this topic is of further interest to you, please register for my masterclasses, which I'm creating as we speak.